All right, just another introduction for Adolfo.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
There you go.
And good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here today. These are the DELAC meetings are very important, so we can kind of go over, the requirement and the involvement, as at the site levels and the district level, and also with parents. So the parents that are here, I'm really appreciative of you guys taking the time. So like Sarah mentioned, one of the requirements is that we do have, a discussion of what it means when it comes to our compliance and making sure that we met the requirements, and all the teachers that are providing support to our students are properly qualified. So one of the requirements that the state of California has is that if any teacher has a single student that is considered an English language learner, or as we now call them, emerging bilinguals, they have to have a English learner authorization. And with that, we know that it'd probably be rare that a single classroom would not have at least one student in that category. So when it comes to recruiting, we hire our teachers and we make sure that all of our teachers have this authorization. We'd rather make sure that they have it, and if they by chance, rare chance, don't have a student that qualifies as an English language learner, that's okay. At least they've met the requirement. And so that is something that we look at whenever we are recruiting. And a lot of times we're recruiting from not out of state, but they come from out of state. And that's something that we need to work on, because in other states, they might not have this requirement. So we have to make sure that in order to be eligible to work for us, they sometimes need to go back to school. They sometimes need to take a class, do something to add that authorization, because some other states don't require it. So we make sure that if we're offering them a contract, they have that authorization. If they went through preparation in the state of California, most likely they have it, and we don't have to worry about it. But like I said, if they're coming out of state, that is something that we work with them directly. And the County Office of Education is great about supporting us when making sure that they know what they need to do in order to meet those requirements. In addition to that, if they are going to be teaching what's called an ELD class at the middle school, so if there's a departmentalized ELD class at the middle school, they actually have to have a CLAD, which is a higher level authorization that they need to possess in order to now teach this class of self-contained, what we call English language learners, depending on the level where they're coming at. So that's a higher level of authorization. And we just need to make sure that if we're hiring them for that position, again, when we're recruiting, we double check that those requirements have been met. So that is something that our credential analyst, Oscar, in our office always verifies. He does an audit. We do an internal audit to make sure that we have everybody with the proper requirements, because the state also does their own audits. So we'd rather audit ourselves, kind of catch those areas where we might have missed somebody and make sure that they're in a program so that they can be in compliance before the state comes in and says you're out of compliance. And also, like, Sarah said, everything that we do is looking at what's the best interest of the students. And the best interest is to have qualified teachers meeting all the prerequisites. So that is always the focus in human resources, trying to get the best candidates, but making sure that they have the proper authorization to be in the classroom with our students. So that's something, again, that we do. I know we do also have teacher aides for certain, schools for the English language learners, but the focus tends to be more like when it comes to requirements, it's the credentials, and it's the credentials that applies mostly, well, only to the teachers. As far as the aides, they have to meet certain qualifications, and we also verify that as well. They have to either have a certain amount of units, or they take a test to just show basic skills, proficiency. So all of that is something that HR does, so they make sure that we're in compliance with the requirements of DELAC. Are there any questions?
Hey, it looks Do we have any questions in the chat at all? It
I
doesn't
don't
look
see
like
any
it.
in the chat, no.
Okay. All righty. Well,
Alright.
thank you, Adolfo.
Of
Very
course,
comprehensive explanation. Really appreciate you coming to the meeting.
you're welcome. Have
Thanks
a
a
great,
lot.
great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. All right, so we have two other requirements for our DELAC committee to look at today. And the first one is our summative LPAC letter. So this is the letter that we send out. And Miko, I don't know if you might be able to get it a little bit bigger than that. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to allow all of you to take a look and maybe read it as Miko is scrolling up. But basically, what we need to do here is you can just comment on the letter if you see anything that needs to be changed with regards to the letter. This is the letter that is sent out before we begin our summative LPAC. So we've already sent this letter out for this year. And our LPAC dates are February 1st through May 31st. So that's when the kids are taking the summative LPAC to see what their progress is with regards to their language acquisition. So please just take a moment and read the letter. And if anyone has any comments or anything that they would like clarified, please let me know. Okay. Hopefully that was not too fast for you. If anybody has any comments, we have somebody raising their hand here. Kathy?
Yeah, sorry. I couldn't read that at all, to be honest with you. It was scrolling way too fast. So I don't know if it's possible for you to email this out to us and have us review it, especially with maybe, a parent or two at our school who has an English learner, and then give you feedback later. But I couldn't
Sure.
read that.
Yes, we can do that. Can we connect that to the board docs, Miko? And then we can email it out?
I believe it already is in board docs, but I can add the links. I mean, the slides are in board docs. I don't know if the link is live in board docs, but I can check it. And if it's not, I can add it to the slide, to the board docs.
Okay,
Or
great.
if you could just email it's kind of hard to navigate into board docs and find things there, to be honest with you. If you could just email us the letter, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, we can do that. That's no problem. Sure.
Thanks.
Okay, and then we'll go back.
Amanda wants to know if this is sent through Parent Square.
Yes, it is.
Great, thanks.
Sure. And then we'll go back, and then the initial notification letter. This is the letter that is sent to parents if when they register for school, they have indicated on the registration, the home language survey, that they are speaking, their child is speaking a language other than English at the home. So at that point, if they indicate that and they are brand new to the country or brand new to the state and have never been tested with the initial LPAC, this is the letter we send out to them, letting them know that they will be tested with the initial LPAC. And again, we can send this letter out as well, but it's basically just telling parents that the test, where the test is going to take place and what it's about. Okay. Give you guys a little bit of time to take a look at that. Okay, any questions or comments about this letter?
How much time do we have to give you feedback after we get the letters via email?
These have already been sent out this year, so you can give me feedback anytime from now until the end of the year, and then we can consider what we're doing for next year.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, great. Okay, I think we'll move on to our next slide then. So at our first DELAC meeting, we went over, we'll move on to the next slide here. Okay, so at our first DELAC meeting, we went over our steps to English language proficiency. So what that is how a student gets redesignated from our ELD program. So the criteria in elementary, I'm just going to go over quickly because we already went over this the first time, and we're going to move on to how our special ed students are being redesignated. So for elementary, students need to have an LPAC overall proficiency of level 4. That's the highest you can get in the LPAC. They need to get either CASP or iReady, meets or exceeds standards. So that would be on grade level for iReady, and for CASP, it would be a 3 overall. And then they need to have certain scores on Rigby or Literably, and that's the reading assessment for elementary. So they need to be at grade level, and those are different for different grade levels that a student might be in. Then for our writing assessment, they need to be at or near grade level benchmarks. And then there's teacher input and parent input as well. And if all of those things are met, then a student can be redesignated out of ELD. For the middle school criteria, it's very similar. They also need to have an LPAC level of 4. They need to have the CASP and the iReady meets or exceeds standards, so a 3 on CASP or an iReady at grade level. Their writing assessment needs to be at or above grade level. And they also will receive some teacher input and then parent and guardian notification and consult for middle school. So now I'm going to hand it over to Amy for our next slide, and we need to discuss a little bit about the redesignation requirements for our special education students.
Great, thanks, Sarah. As Sarah mentioned, we have specific criteria for students to be redesignated as English proficient who are taking the assessments that were listed on the previous slide. But some of our students who are English learners are part of our special education program. And as part of that program, through their individualized education plan, their team of supports and team of professionals and parents have decided that they would benefit from taking an alternate assessment for the LPAC and the CASP test. These assessments are similar to what's given to the students in the general education program, but they are administered very differently. It's in a one-on-one setting with a lot of supports and accommodations for the students to be able to access the information on the assessments. And so what we want to come to you today is to discuss and actually sort of take a vote on including into our ELD master plan some new criteria for the redesignation of students in our special education program, sometimes referred to as students with exceptional needs. Because currently we're not including these alternate assessments as part of our criteria. And we want to be able to do that because some of our English learners who are special education students complete the alternate assessment from the beginning of their sort of state testing to by the end of 8th grade. And so we need to be able to give them the opportunity to also achieve redesignation as English proficient. So the criteria that we'd like to establish, which is in line with the expectations from the state and the county, is that our students who are taking the alternate LPAC and the alternate CASP test would have the criteria that's listed on the slide. So they would need to earn a score of 3 on the alternate LPAC or higher. which is sort of the equivalent of the what our current requirement is on the other LPAC. On the alternate cast, they would have to achieve a 2 or higher. And then, of course, we would consult with parents to make sure that they felt confident that their students could be redesignated, and their classroom teachers would need to make a recommendation, which is similar to our other criteria. So I'll take any questions before we kind of host a vote to be able to include this, a virtual vote. But does anybody have any questions about this criteria or these alternate assessments? I can do my best to try and answer them.
Could you just explain what's exceptional needs?
So that's just another way of talking about our special education students. So students who are enrolled in the district who have individualized education plans, so they are eligible for services under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if there aren't any questions, if you could we need to take a vote in order to include this into our master plan and give our special education students this opportunity to reclassify. So if you could, if you have access to your chat, if you can vote for us to adopt this criteria for reclassification for our special education students to take the alternate assessments by I don't know, Sarah, what do we vote? Yes, no?
Yes or no?
Yes or no? We would appreciate that.
Amy, sorry, this is just kind of a principal specific question, but will we still have the option to reclassify via the IEP in cases of students with in our extensive support needs classes?
Yes, but we are actually hoping that that this criteria might eliminate the need for some of that, because we're establishing something that we think is accessible to the students to be able to achieve. But yes, that is still an option to use the pathway of the IEP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, it looks like we have quite a few votes in. Miko, does it look like we have everybody's vote or the majority here?
Yes, a majority if we're not considering the three of us. Or
Okay. Oh, I already voted yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, all yeses.
Okay, wonderful. Excellent. So we will incorporate this information in our master plan for next year, and we will be following this new redesignation for our special education students. So moving on, as we talked a little bit earlier, the summative LPAC, we're right in the middle of the summative LPAC right now. So the dates are February 1st from May 31st. All of our students who are ELD students are taking this test. And the way it works is we have testers that come out to our elementary school sites and are able to test our students. At the middle school, some of our ELD students are testing their whole group within their classes for the LPAC, the summative LPAC. There's 4 areas of the LPAC, so they're going to be tested on listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And I've linked there, and Miko, you don't have to go there, but I've linked some LPAC parent resources. So if you're curious about a little bit more about what the LPAC tests, there's also practice tests that parents can access, and the link is there if anyone would like to check that out. And if we go to the next slide, these are also the proficiency levels that we went over on our first DELAC meeting, but they're important because we're going to talk a little bit about the dashboard. And so knowing what the proficiency levels are is going to help us to determine how we did with our dashboard. So if you take a look down at the bottom, there's a level 1 that's emerging. Then there's level 2, and in level 2 and level 3, there's actually two levels within that level. So there's low expanding and mid expanding in level 2, and then upper expanding and lower bridging in level 3. And then of course there's level 4, which is upper bridging. So if you take a look at our next slide, this gives you, and this is also something we talked about at our first DELAC meeting, but this just gives you an idea of each one of the levels and what the competencies are for the students once they reach those levels. And our next slide, these are our results from last year, 22-23, with regards to our EL students. And I am very happy to say that our EL students performed very, very well in all areas. So in English language arts, our EL students were in the green area. And I know that at our last PAC DELAC, Allison explained that we really want to be over in the blue and the green area. And in all areas with our ELD students, that's what we achieved. So that's really fantastic. And we'll go into a little bit more in the next couple of slides. In math, we are in the blue area, which is amazing. And then if you take a look at the far right where it says English learner progress, we're in the blue area there. And what that means is that 66.9% of our students are making progress towards proficiency in English. So if you go back, if you can go back to the slide that has all the levels on it, one more back, what they're measuring here for our dashboard is they want to see students moving up every level. So we actually get credit for students that are moving even within level 2, as long as you are moving from low expanding to mid expanding. And then we also get credit for students that remain at level 4. So level 4 is the highest level. So what we don't want is students maintaining at one particular level and not making progress. But as you can see, we are making good progress with our English learners. So we are currently in the blue area for them. So if you take a look at our next slide here, and you'll see how we did in English language arts. And actually, this is phenomenal. So our current English learners, so those are the kiddos that have not been redesignated, and these are last year's results. They were 33.4 points below standard, okay? But once our students are reclassified, they end up 91.6 points above standard. Now, our students that are English only students are at 87.8 points above standard. So what is this telling us? It's telling us that our English language students are outperforming actually our English only students once they become redesignated. So that's pretty amazing. Our students, once they are redesignated, they're doing very, very well academically. And we're going to see the same thing if we move to our next slide, which is the math slide. So here's our data for our English language learners. So current English language learners are 4.6 below standard, but once they get reclassified, they're 104.2 points above standard, where our English only students are at 93.4 points above standard. So again, this is telling us that we're doing a really, really fantastic job with our EL students. They're making great progress. And when they get reclassified, they're, doing really well, off the charts. So we're really, really proud of our English learners. And we'll move on to our next slide here. So some of this I did talk to you all a little bit about at the very beginning of the year in our DELAC meeting, but I wanted to reiterate to you some of the things that we're doing that's new in ELD this year, and some of the things I haven't talked to you about yet. So we do have 5 certificated intervention teachers that are assisting at some of our schools with helping out our newcomers. We have seen this year in particular that we have a lot of newcomers. And what I mean by newcomers, those are students that are brand new to the United States and speak very little English, if at all. So, and we're seeing newcomers at all of our schools. So we have intervention teachers, and they split their time between doing math intervention and then also helping out with our newcomer students. And they are using our Benchmark Hello, which is a new curriculum that we just bought this year. It's a 16-week program, and it's really focusing on how we can get some survival skills for our newcomers and make sure that they have the best ability to start learning the language and be successful in the classroom. So we bought the Benchmark Hello program for all of our schools, and the 5 intervention teachers are currently teaching to our newcomers at some of those schools. We've also hired elementary instructional assistants who where we have 14% or more of our ELD students at a particular site. And they too are going into those schools and teaching the Benchmark Hello and working with our newcomers. So we really want to make sure that our newcomers are as supported as possible so they have the best chance for success. The other thing that we are doing is we have just trained all of our ELD teachers at the middle school level on a new program called ListenWise. And ListenWise is actually very cool. And if you're interested in it, you can always go to the ListenWise website, and they have free trials going on right now. So you can sign up for a free trial as a parent or teacher. But I'm going to show you a little video about what ListenWise is all about and how we're using it in the middle schools. Miko, we can't hear it, so I think you need to maybe unmute yourself.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to skip the ad.
Being a teacher of multilingual
No,
students
still
is
can't hear it.
juggling lots of priorities.
Hold on, maybe it has to do with the way I'm sharing my screen.
Okay.
I could hear that second attempt, Sarah.
Oh, you could? Okay.
You could hear it?
After you unmuted, I could hear it, yeah.
Academic language, rigorous content, speaking, listening, differentiating. With so much potential, you want to see them soar. So you've got to keep it meaningful and accessible. What if your students were wondering and exploring even challenging topics and learning academic language at the same time, all with less work needed by you? That's where ListenWise comes in. ListenWise provides podcasts and video lessons across the curriculum to develop English language skills and teach engaging content. Our product's unique design can scaffold meaningful, rigorous learning for multilingual students in every classroom. By pairing authentic podcasts with videos, our multimodal approach supports academic language acquisition and building background knowledge. Lessons are standards aligned, Lexile leveled, and new current events are added daily. Now you can teach content and language together with ease. Transcripts, slower audio options, and immersive language supports make learning a personalized, accessible experience for all students. Choose from our large collection of quizzes to assess which listening comprehension skills need the most focus. You'll have insight into how well students listen and have the resources to improve students' comprehension. Now you know why school districts across the U.S. love using ListenWise. Try a 30-day free trial or request a quote at listenwise.com. Happy listening.
All right. Thanks, Miko. And you got the little sales pitch at the end there. The middle school ELD teachers are really enjoying this program because there are just so many videos that they're able to connect it with whatever they're currently teaching, which is great. I have the intervention teachers currently right now doing a free trial of ListenWise. So we'll see how it works for the elementary level. But it's very similar to, if anybody's familiar with Newsela, but it's more of a listening. The great part about it is you can slow the audio way down for those students that are learning a language right now, and then they actually see the transcript as the written transcript as they are listening. And they can listen to it multiple times, and then they take quizzes, comprehension quizzes afterwards. So it seems to be a great program. Our middle school teachers are really enjoying it right now. So we'll see how it goes with our intervention teachers. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing currently in ELD? Okay. So each one of our sites did a site needs assessment to our ELD parents. And this is basically what I pulled from the needs assessment. So ELD parents are reporting that generally they are feeling that their children are feeling supported with their designated ELD lessons, and they're generally feeling satisfied with the ELD program at their schools, which is great. Some of the things that our ELD parents express that they would like CUSD to continue are the ELD IAs in the classroom to support EL learners. And like I said previously in another slide, we are expanding that. So we will have more sites that have the ELD IAs to support. And then parents are also wanting to continue the designated ELD in the classroom. They are liking our ELOP program, which is our Expanded Learning Opportunities program. And that program is available to our ELD students after school. It is not necessarily a program that is designed to help students specifically acquire English skills, but of course, with interacting with other students and the activities that they do during ELOP, students are definitely practicing their language skills. And then parents would also like to see that the EL students are offered Tier 2 supports if progress is not being made in the general ed classroom. And then finally, learning hubs and clubs for students to practice their English skills, which we have at every single one of our sites, which is amazing. So that's the site needs assessment that we have gleaned from sending that out to our EL parent groups. And then the final, I'm open for questions, but I'd also like to get some of your thoughts on if there's anything within the ELD program that you believe we need to start, stop, or continue. So thinking about our ELD program, and you can write in the chat, or you can just speak out and we'll kind of write it down to make a note of it. But if there is anything that anyone feels that they would like to talk a little bit about, things that they would like to start, stop, or continue. Somebody asked a question about designated ELD program. That's a great question. So we have the ELD program is made up of designated ELD and integrated ELD. Designated ELD is small groups where a teacher may be pulling a small group of, for example, newcomer ELD students and working on skills for those newcomers. Integrated ELD is using strategies within the classroom that is going to help not only our ELD students access the curriculum, but really everybody. So it's using strategies within a whole group within the general ed classroom. Did that answer the question, hopefully? Great. And please feel free to pop in the chat if you'd like to talk a little bit about anything we'd like to start, stop, or continue with our ELD program. And then this is something that we would be putting in our LCAP. Okay. And, here we go. And Amanda Clark says the support with the intervention teachers, ELIAs, and funding has been wonderful. Please continue. Thank you. We will continue that. All right. Okay, well, if anybody has any comments or questions, you can always feel free to email me. And I'll get right back to you. And in the meantime, we'll send out those letters for you to take a look at. And if you have any comments about those, please definitely get in touch with me. Want to thank Amy for coming to the meeting and going over our alternate LPAC and our new requirements there. And thank all of you for attending. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.